just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to an episode of The Yarn, powered by Lontel, the best internet on all the land. Go to lontel.net.au/bloke. Use your code. You know the drill. Also powered by Aspley Mazda. And right now, with Aspley Mazda, any new or used car you buy, you have a chance to be gifted a game day experience with myself, Drowley, Alex Glenn, and also Lukey the Carman. And the date, it's going to be cut off very, very soon. So make sure to get in. If you need a car, give Lukey a message. And also, just quickly, for Spotify listeners, apologies, but video will only be on YouTube for the foreseeable future. We will not have video on Spotify. We just got some stuff internally we're trying to work out with the files and everything like that. So video will only be on YouTube for the foreseeable future. Apologies. I know how frustrating that can be, but we're just having some issues with our files and that. So yes, on YouTube, you can watch the video of everything. On Spotify, it'll go back to audio only until we can get this issue fixed. Apologies, but it's out of our control. But anyway, Tyson the Terminator, how you going, brother?
I'm good, Kempy. How are you, mate?
How's that Instagram going? You building it up or what?
Look, I've gotten a few followers, but I reckon some people are struggling to find Tyson the Terminator 69 on Instagram.
Okay. Well, okay. Have you
How old were you when you made that name, by the way?
It got made 6 weeks ago when Kempy made it up.
Good excuse. Yeah, Kempy made it up. That's
I was Penrith superstar with 2 Fs as a young fella, 2 Fs at the end of Penrith. So
That's mad.
You would have had an embarrassing one, Kempy.
I like the F at the end of Penrith.
Yeah. You would have had an embarrassing hotmail or
Sir_Kempelot at hotmail.com. That's goated, bro. That's goated. That is.
We were 12 though, so a little bit of an excuse.
Yeah, this is when I was 25.
The Terminator was a fair age when he's made his one.
Yes, 6 weeks ago. I have thought about changing it. I just don't know how much work would appreciate Tyson the Terminator 69 being my social media handle.
Yeah, well, listen, it's all about character, you know? There's Buzz Rothfield, then there's Tyson the Terminator 69.
We'll see.
Mate, look, big news. Scotty Drinkwater. What is the latest on Scotty Drinkwater?
Yeah, look, today we've been able to report that Scott is been tabled a $3 million offer by the Dragons, which will be $1 million a year for 3 years. And I mean, we kind of all saw it coming when it came to the Dragons and Scott Drinkwater. It seemed like the logical fit. The Dragons are in desperate need of some speed, some X factor. It's exactly what Scott Drinkwater brings. And yeah, all signs point to Scott Drinkwater eventually going to the Dragons because the Cowboys have given him the official tap now and told it that he's able to go and negotiate elsewhere.
So there was that initial report, but isn't there also just breaking reports recently that he's rejected the initial offer? I'd get Matty to check that because as I was walking in here, I think I read somewhere that he's rejected the initial offer already.
I think you might be getting confused with the Dragons have rejected Loko Pasifiki Tonga's he asked
a request for a release?
Yeah, request for a release.
Could you just check that, Matty, please?
Because that literally got broken maybe an hour.
Do we know any more about, like, Todd Payton obviously briefly touched on it in the presser. Now he was selling it as all the requests had come from the Drinkwater camp. Do we know where the Dragons sit in all this? Like, are they wanting to keep him or are they happy for him to go?
You mean the Cowboys?
The Cowboys, sorry, yes.
So well, this is the interesting thing. We spoke a couple of weeks ago on Jackson Purdue and him re-signing such a long deal, and the Cowboys and Jackson Purdue's camp not seeing him as a center. They want to move him closer to the ball, and they've kind of landed on the fullback position. So, I mean, the Cowboys may not have gone straight to Scott Drinkwater and said, we don't want you anymore, but it looked as though that his position was no longer there for him.
You know what? There's been a bit of this with the Cowboys over the years because, like, Scott Drinkwater is literally on national TV saying, I want to be Cowboy forever. And then all of a sudden, a week later, all of this stuff, increased in. I'm a little bit surprised that Payton has said that, because clearly this isn't all from Scotty Drinkwater's side.
No, they had to. So the Cowboys had to do this, right? It all actually happened last week. For ages, the media has had word that Scott Drinkwater was the odd man out at the Cowboys, and he was going to be the one that had to.
But he wanted to stay though.
But then he gets on NRL 360 last week and goes, I haven't been told that that they want me to go, and I want to stay.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be here for the rest of my career. So then the Cowboys, what are the Cowboys supposed to do? The Cowboys have to have that awkward conversation. Well, actually, you're free to leave now because
so why is Todd Payton saying this is all from Drinkwater's side?
I mean, it's a bit of PR, right? You need to protect your team.
Someone come out last week and said how Val Holmes is still fuming that he's at the Dragons and he's not still at the Cowboys. Did you see someone come out and say that?
I didn't see that personally.
Someone said he was fuming to have to leave the Cowboys.
Cowboys, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that either, but I'm a bit surprised that Todd Payton has said that because it's like I understand there will be some Cowboys fans that are frustrated. Like Scotty Drinkwater is a freak, absolute
He
freak.
was the best player on the weekend as well.
Yeah.
After this report came out, this initial report that they had given him the tap.
And I'm not so sure that it's a smart decision to move him on early. I could understand if you said after 27, we're not going to re-sign him. Maybe look, in a perfect world, I would like, if I was the Cowboys, I'd keep him till 28. Then I'd move Purdue across. But I'm sure if the Cowboys came out and said, listen, we have to move on to keep Purdue, I think a lot of Cowboys fans would understand. Like, at least they might not agree with it, but they understand it. So I'm surprised that they've tried to make out this Drinkwater that's pushed to leave.
But don't you think that as a if you look at what Cowboys fans will be thinking, they can see right now that you can have Scott Drinkwater and Jackson Purdue in the same team, and you
could say for salary cap, but you could say salary cap, we can't afford them both.
But the cap's not shrinking either, is it? Like,
no, it's going to grow.
Cap's going to grow
next year when the CBA and that comes in.
Makes it more bizarre. Interesting. Is there many other clubs in the ring for him? Because I think he could add a lot to a number of clubs.
Yeah,
Drinkwater.
There was expressions of interest around Perth, Canterbury, the Sharks, and still the West Tigers keep getting brought up. I've been told, like Benji Marshall literally said straight to me, he's not coming to the Tigers.
Okay.
But you know, Perth was the one where I thought they need to go after Scott Drinkwater and they need to offer him more than whatever the Dragons are offering him, which they could do. I know they're starting to build their roster around, but they haven't used all their money.
No
Scott
way.
Drinkwater would be such a perfect signing for them. Like, gives that bit of experience, that bit of X factor. But the Dragons have always been in this front seat. As soon as the reports came out, the Dragons were always in the front seat to get Scott Drinkwater, and they're a club that's going to chase really hard because they've got no choice but to.
Matty, did you get a chance to look?
Yes. All right. His manager said, I've said no to the offer. There are several clubs keen on Scott, and the Dragons' bid was not what we're looking for at this stage. It's not to say they're out of the mix, but they're going to have to come up with something better.
Wow.
Well, he's off in 28. There's a franchise in PNG that aren't going to charge tax on anyone.
So I guess the question is like, how much would $1 million's not enough?
He's going to write what he wants with the Dragons, and the Dragons are in a state they're going to do it too, aren't they?
I will say this came out this morning at 6 a.m. and then the $3 million thing came out around 10 a.m.
So maybe it's the reverse.
Maybe it wasn't that offer. Maybe they've upped the offer.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't necessarily think they've knocked back the $3 million.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yep.
Do you reckon with what's on the peripheries and what's to come in our game with Perth and PNG though, it wouldn't be that stupid to knock back $1 million offer?
See, if I'm Drinky, I'm going for 1.2 at the Dragons.
Yeah.
I reckon 1.2 is probably what I'd be asking for to go to the Dragons.
Perth could give him 1.2.
Easy.
Like, who have Perth
PNG
signed?
give him 1.2 no tax.
Yeah.
PNG could give him 2 mil. But it's crazy the situation. And I mean, it tells you where the Dragons are at, doesn't it? If they're like $1 million is still a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you can knock down, I think he's on around 800 at the moment at the Cowboys. I think if you can knock back $1 million from the Dragons,
Well, it just depends. It depends what came first. Was there an initial offer that was around 850, and did they knock that back? And then immediately the Dragons have counter-offered and said, because I think that I actually don't mind that play from the Dragons because I don't think they want this to get into the market, and
No.
I think they want to come in big and just knock it out of the park and
a
just say,
club will outbid the $1 million flat mark, I reckon.
Like
They
Perth
definitely
probably
could outbid 850, 900 if
Easy.
that's what the offer was.
Well, I reckon even Sharks could be in the 850
I'd
mark.
love for him to be at the Sharks.
I think the Sharks, from my chats around the Sharks, they've got quite a big salary cap squeeze at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a few players off contract, but there is a lot of money being tied up at their higher end. So I don't know if they can afford to bring Scott Drinkwater in.
See, that's a tough thing because then their salary cap probably isn't balanced the best because they clearly need one more star.
You look at that, it's changed now because a couple of players have signed elsewhere, but at the start of the year, they had 14 players off contract.
Yeah.
I don't know. And 14, like, majority of them are first graders. I don't remember another club that have had that many players off contract all at the same time, all around your first grade squad. So, I mean, it's telling you as much as you need to know where their cap is and how much of a clear out they have to do.
See, that's what puts the Sharks in a tough position though, because let's make the assumption that who their stars are now are who their stars are going to be in 3-4 years, because that's basically what the implication is here. Because otherwise they would have to move on. Can they win a comp with the stars they've got now? Do you think?
No, they need a one. I've always I'm not willing to judge Nico until we get him a one that can really help him. They've got young Ison there.
Yep.
I don't know what plans or how far
Well,
off.
that is their plan. They want Liam Ison to be their guy. I think he was
He had a
supposed
few
to.
injuries, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he was supposed to get a run in that second trial, which would have given us all kind of the viewing we needed. But he copped another injury right before the second trial.
The Sharks have missed the boat in the sense that the frenzy's about to begin. Like 12 months ago, you could have maybe, Drinkwater maybe has an 850, 900 price tag. He's going to have a 1.3 now. Who's he going to be? Who's in the market with him? So Dream Bula?
Well, by Benji going, no, Drinky's not coming here, that sounds like they're pretty confident they're going to keep Bula.
Yeah, so
But Bula could go somewhere else, right?
He still could. Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to talk on that point. But my understanding around
Creamy Bula.
yeah, creamy Bula,
The cream of Bula.
Fluid.
Very
Fluid was the word that got me.
silky, yeah. Jareem's in a position now where he has to make, or the club has up until May to make their option, which will take him up at 900. But the Tigers are also very cautious as well, not to blow their whole cap on Jareem. They want Jareem, they want him to stay, but they're not the club anymore that they were before, where they had to pay overs to keep everyone. But Jareem could be an option for them. Also, Trey Fuller isn't locked in at the Dolphins. He wanted 2 years to come to the Dragons. The Dragons wouldn't give him 2 years. And if that's what he's asking, I'm sure another club would take that up. Connor Tracey's just been locked down. But this November 1 that just happened.
Sorry, just on that Dragons with the Trey Fuller. So they would have actually only had to pay him $200K for the rest of the year, and then for potentially $400K next year. And they said no.
They didn't
Is
want
there
to give him
more
2
to the
years.
story with Trey though, and moving away from? I've
He-
heard
he-
moving
yeah.
away from Redcliffe is not an option for him.
No, that's exactly what happened. Trust me. That he was willing to go, but he was like, I'm not coming down there for half a year. If I'm going down there, I want another year next year.
Yep.
And Dragons would have only had to pay $200K for the rest of this year, and then $400K next year. And the Dragons said, no, we're not going to offer that because we think we might be able to get Drinkwater.
Yeah. If he has it his way, I think you're both correct. But if Trey has it his way, Trey wouldn't leave Brisbane. That's where he wants to stay. But he was going to come to the Dragons if they offered him 2 years. But
See, that's what I can't believe with the Dragons is like, if they've got all this money, apparently, Trey Fuller, you could do way worse with a backup fullback. You could do way worse with a 14 in Trey Fuller. For $400K,
Yeah, 100%.
like right now when they're struggling for speed around the ruck, surely you just, let's say you
he goes straight into their team.
Yeah,
He
like
goes
surely,
straight in.
let's say you land Drinkwater. Wouldn't you just train Trey Fuller for a whole off season as a 14? Get the bulk on his body a little bit to help the tackle in the middle, and he specializes in 30 minutes in the middle, 25 minutes.
He's made for the model. I wouldn't even be opposed to them paying $600 for Trey Fuller to be their full-time fullback.
Yeah,
If they don't get Drinky.
Yeah.
Well, even if you went that route, instead of getting, I understand they want to get Drinky to make a splash, and
Yep.
I also think some of the minor inconsistencies in Drinky's game may not be what the Dragons need right now either. Obviously, their squad's gonna, in a perfect world, I'd love to see Drinky go to Sharks and Will Kennedy go to Dragons. I think Will Kennedy, you know what you're going to get from him most weeks. He's not super crafty, but he brings a level of consistency that I reckon that organisation needs.
He's very similar to Clint Gutherson.
Just faster
but
and
just
and
faster
fresher,
and
yeah.
fresher, and that's exactly what they want. They wanted Clint Gutherson with a bit of speed and with that bit of X factor. That's what Will Kennedy brings you.
Part of their issues at the moment, I think, is their best players have some of their worst moments. Like Luch Leilua, and it's unfair to be critical on him, but he still comes up with a bit of trash here and there. But he's also their best player and the only player that ever looks like doing anything.
This year especially has been outstanding.
I reckon they need their top 3 or 4 players with a little bit more consistency. Val Holmes still offers them a lot, but he's coming up with a bit of trash at times that he hasn't throughout his career. So I just think they need some consistency. That I don't really have as many fears of where they're at. I think they're right at this point where they'll have a breakthrough in the next sort of 12 months. It'll just be whether they can steady the ship while that's coming.
So, okay, where do we think Drinky lands? Do you think the Dragons just blow teams out of the water and just get him there? Just, Keon and him arriving. There's a lot of excitement heading to next year if they were to land him and Keon for next year.
Yeah, they have to. There's no doubt in my mind that if the Dragons can land Scott Drinkwater, they start taking steps into that right direction. If they let another club come in, especially a Perth or something, you get to a point where the Dragons will go through a similar thing to what the Tigers went through. They'll sign Keon like the Tigers signed Appy, and they'll still sit at the bottom of the ladder until they can get those 1 or 2 extra signings to get them to where they need to get to.
Yeah, okay.
So it has to be the Dragons.
Now, we're still in the Dragons. Don't forget, guys, May 4th is when the Bloke Rugby League jerseys are dropping. Old school, you know, we do it every single year before Magic Round. May 4th, limited edition, the most limited edition. This is the least numbers we've ever ordered because we want to keep it limited. So make sure to set your alarm, 6 p.m, May 4th, the Bloke 2026 jersey dropping. It is a design we've never, ever done before in the OG colours, but still on the Dragons. So what's going on with Loko Pasifiki Tonga?
Yeah, well, this is the more scary story out of the Dragons at the moment because we've heard about these young guns, this crop of juniors that they have that are going to get this club out of the trouble that they're in. Well, they're not going to get the club out of the trouble that they're in when they want to leave, and that's exactly what Loko's come out and kind of said. They've asked for a release, which we can report today. The Dragons have said no. The Dragons said we're not letting him go, but the understandable. Yeah, they can't. The Dragons can't let anyone go.
And they just re-signed him at the start of last year.
Yeah,
I think
so. The problem is though that Loko, very similar to Lockie Ilias and a couple of those other guys that have left already, feels that he's just getting overlooked and not getting a chance when he feels that he's a first grader and they're continually picking over him. His agent Matt Rogers, he's come out and said that tremendous young man. He played 10 games for the Dragons last year, had a big off season. Came back last week, ran for 250 metres, 70 post-contact metres, scored a try. They've obviously got an opinion of him that he's not up to scratch. He doesn't feel like he's being developed, and his management agrees on that. So
Matt Rogers, he's in the management company. He doesn't specifically manage him, but he's in the management company that manages Loko.
Yeah. So Craig Clifton is the agent of Loko. But Matt Rogers obviously on radio can speak on the behalf.
So normally in these situations, actually, I'll get your thoughts first, mate. What are your thoughts about a young forward coming forward and basically saying, I think I should be at least getting a crack in the first grade side? And he's averaging 180 metres since his return, 3 games in a row.
I reckon there's a little bit of the situation where he's watched what went on with Ilias last year. I reckon there's a fear now that this could drag on the same way it did for him. And these are the things that the club's got to sort out. He's a guy that they want to sort of keep around. They have to keep around. So I'd probably just be throwing him in this week and saying, let's get to work then and see where we can get you to. But based on what happened last year, I reckon that's what's given him real.
Yeah, you don't want to waste the whole year in resis, especially 100%. If you're a developed. I gotta be honest, and I hate to be too harsh on Shane Flanagan, but it seems like a bit of a
deja vu,
a pattern.
Yeah.
You got these young players that, it seems like aren't getting communicated with very well. Don't feel like they're, I could understand if they were they had 1 win and 4 losses or whatever, you could go, okay, Flano's going to go with experience over youth and all that kind of stuff. But when you're 0-5? 0-6? You haven't won a game. Haven't won a game this year. Even then, I guess the fact that Loko's gotten to the position where he's asked for release, surely you can communicate with him enough to be like, mate, this is why we haven't put you in. But if you keep just putting your head down and working hard,
I reckon that's the part of it that makes it hard. The fact that he's asked for the release, the club should be able to navigate things so it doesn't even get to that point.
Yeah, but it seems like Kyle Flanagan. Ilias. Glover. That was another young guy too that they were pissed at that went to the Dogs.
Fatu, not Latu, Fanu Latu, I think his name is.
So he's another guy that left. And it seems like a little bit of a pattern where these reserve graders, at the very least, it seems like they're not getting communicated with.
It's also their reserve grade, their jersey flag, they're all killing it. And this was the problem last year. They go, we keep winning games, you guys keep losing games, but the teams stay exactly the same.
Yep.
And we all know this. Your reserve grade teams, your jersey flag teams, SG Ball, all of those teams are made to feed to your NRL team. So despite it being great to win reserve grade competitions and whatnot, their job is to win first grade competitions. Everything else is a bonus. So they're seeing this and going, well, where the best players aren't playing, right? This week, for example, Emre Gula.
Gula's the guy they're coming for, the fans.
Yeah.
They're going,
and
you keep
Laurie as well.
Yeah, Blake Laurie, Josh Kerr, Hame Saleh are all middle forwards on the bench. Middle forwards in the team. And then in jersey number 21, not even in the extended bench, in the extended bench, is Loko, who goes, why can't I get a crack?
Especially, I've got to say, I'd understand maybe by round 4 or something, that, listen, we're just going to try to get through this first month of footy. But the fact that even now he can't get a crack, like surely someone's getting dropped after, what is it, 5 or 6 losses?
They haven't had a bye yet, so
they've had 6 losses, and has any of the forwards been dropped? Yeah,
no.
So that's crazy to me. Like even if it's just to send a message.
Yeah, there's, it's, you know what's funny? I think like a couple of years ago, if you had a junior saying, "Give me a spot or I'm going to leave," you'd probably laugh at it. Like, but I mean, we're all seeing the issues here, and this isn't just a junior that's never played first grade before. He's had first grade experience, and he's actually gone away in the off season, done the work, come back, and still not getting a crack.
And I know some Dragons fans say he's been injured, but like three really good games it sounds like. But on top of that, like it's the first grade side hasn't won a game. Surely, even if he was just average in reserve grade, wouldn't you just bring him in to send a message to some of these other forwards that your spot isn't safe?
The interesting part is too, a lot of the blame for the losses is coming on their halves. And we've all been like, I've tried to be as supportive as I can, but like at some point they're going to have to start coming up with stuff. Like, is this Shane's way of saying maybe our forwards aren't our problem? Is that why?
Well, not all of their forwards are their problem. I think Ryan Couchman, Toby Couchman have been some of their better players, but
why would you run the risk of like he's someone the club wants to build around?
Yeah.
So why would you even run the risk of pissing him off? Like just throw him in.
And you said yourself as a coach that you're not going to win a comp this year.
So put the guys that you want to build around.
Yeah, like this is what I'm not getting is like they're in this weird spot between like we want to try to win a game and building for the future. They've got to rip the Band-Aid off and make a decision. And the decision they've clearly made initially was we're going to just try and win as many games as we can with the roster we've got. And it hasn't worked. So if that hasn't worked, you need to rip the Band-Aid off. You need to select 5 to 7 of these young guys that have all played together and say, this is the squad for the next 5 years. We are going to build around it.
Do you know what I've found speaking to a few people around clubs and around the Dragons the last couple of weeks? They are using the games last year, this team, like, we'll lose to the Tigers, but we'll beat Melbourne. Or we'll lose to this team, but we'll beat Penrith. This is the team that did that. Like, hey, I was speaking to someone the other day about the Dragons in Magic Round because they got Penrith. They go, that'll be our first win of the year. I've got no doubt. It's like, you think you're going to beat Penrith in Magic Round? Like, well, because they're all hooked on this idea last year that this is the team that's tough enough that can compete with top teams. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
That's strange. I don't like. I know the fans aren't hooked on that. I know the fans are ready to absolutely explode, and I can understand why. If I was a Dragons fan, I for the life of me, I couldn't understand. We're about to lose a great young talent for what? For like, if I'm going to piss off one person right now, if I'm the Dragons, it's the young stable that I don't want to piss off because they're my only opportunity of any success. Because the current crop, we haven't won a game all year. Like if I'm a Dragons fan and they lose Loko, I would be livid.
Yeah, they can't, because this is the thing, right? Those aging forwards that I just mentioned, they're the guys at the start of the year we would have thought would get pushed to your teams like Perth, your teams like Papua New Guinea. You know who the teams Perth and Papua New Guinea are going to get? All these young forwards that have built this. The Dragons have done all the hard work with them, built them up through the system, right?
Like you said about the ones you want to build around, if anything is going to get Shane Flanagan sacked, it's Loko Pasifika asking for a release and not wanting to be at the club.
And so Sewer's not taking up his option.
No, Sewer will be at Parramatta next year.
He's very close with Halangahu as well, who's in a similar position, but not playing every week, but in a similar position. Both Penrith juniors, I believe. Loko.
But even when Halangatu's been named, he hasn't been getting on the field.
Yeah. This is what I don't get as well. Is like, if I'm Flano, surely you're going, listen, I'll play the youngsters, and if they
cut you more, cut you more flack.
Yeah, you can go, guys. I gave them an opportunity. They're young. Let's give us. We've got more time now because the fans are going to be like, they're young. Give them an opportunity.
Well, someone was saying about Flano I think there was a story come out today about I think he's mentioning the roster, but they're saying he's been there 3 years. Like
he's built this roster.
It's his roster. It's his roster. I said that weeks ago, and someone tried to argue that he's dealing with someone else's roster. No, he's not.
No, this is his roster. I've got to say as well, like it's like two things can be true. It's not all Flano's fault. Like clearly there are far deeper concerns at that club. Last year they didn't have a head of recruitment. So there's clearly more issues, but that two things can be true. He can also be making wrong decisions, and then people above him can also be making wrong decisions. So for the life of me, I can't understand why. Like if I even heard wind of Loko about to ask for release, I'll be swallowing my pride and just getting him on the field
that's the thing.
immediately.
And the other part is it's not uncommon to ask a young front rowers, we say, come into their own at 25.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's not uncommon to say go and put in some performances in New South Wales Cup until you come back. But he has runs on the board of in the last 12 months, there's been no light at the end of the tunnel for any player in that New South Wales Cup team.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a sad state of our game when a player asks for a release after 4 weeks of playing New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
But they've backed themselves into this corner because of what they've done to players in that team in the past. So.
Well, like last year they came 15th, and essentially both halves in New South Wales Cup didn't get a crack, and they came 15th.
And they both left.
Yeah.
And no, I said this a couple weeks ago as well. The fact that they were both, and Loko as well, the fact that these guys are willing to be vocal about this,
it's concerning.
Like, I know a lot of young players in the game that like I talk to them, I've been friends with, and they might tell me something, and they go, please don't write it.
Yeah.
Don't, like, this can't get out. These guys want this out there. They want to know. They want people to know they're getting hard done by.
So yeah, I personally think the Dragons are getting to the point now where they need to make a very strong call of picking 7 players and go, like similar to what Penrith did. They picked 5 to 6 players, 7 players, and said, this is who we are going to build around. And as you just said, mate, the Dragons have done all the hard work. If you're going to be critical about the other stuff, the administration, some of this, in regards to development up until first grade with like the Couchman brothers, Egan, Stewart, Hollangahu, like they've done a really good job, the Dragons. They really have. But now it's a time to go, like, back these boys in. And yeah, I don't get it. So now just quickly before we move off the Dragons, Shane Richardson, is this noise more narrative to try and get Shane Richardson a job, or is this noise coming? Where is this coming from? This noise about Shane Richardson?
Well, I think people. It started with people going, hey, look at what he's done before, and like his strike rate is so good. Like, what could he do for the Dragons? But I mean, he's just been cleared by the NRL of any wrongdoing. So
really,
yeah. So
so he's going to get a full payout from the Tigers then, I guess.
He's been cleared, right? So he would be such a. I watched it happen as not only a journo but as a fan of the Tigers, and watched him pull apart that roster with Benji Marshall, threw all his faith in a guy who'd never coached before, backed him to the death, and you're starting to look. They've done nothing yet this year, but you're starting to see this success build.
Does that make you frustrated as a Tigers fan that he no wrongdoing and he had to leave the friggin' job?
Yeah, look, like I mean, Richo's a pulverizing character in the game. Like, there's going to be some. He rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
So he has a timeline. Like he does
have a timeline.
He almost
very similar.
welcome.
Very similar to Gus, right?
Yeah.
I liked Richo. Anytime I spoke to Richo, he was very good. And I love what he did with the Tigers. But was it sustainable forever? No. He did the work. They're in a position now. That's what he was brought there to do.
Yep.
The Dragons, give him 3 years with Richo. See what will happen.
He'll be moving and shaking, that's for sure. Interesting. Didn't they just get a new CEO though?
Yeah, but you bring him in as a football manager or something like that, right? You find space for someone like Shane Richardson if he's available. Like, I mean, I'd love to have him in PNG or in Perth.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Okay, it's got in my show notes. Gordon, tell us. We're not going to talk about that. It's nonsense. It's just gone way too far. It's such carry on from every angle. I can't talk about that shit no more. Unless you boys want to talk about it.
I did enough work on that on Sunday.
Yeah, it's nothing story. Okay, guys, give us a follow on Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed. And a massive shout out also to KO. Alrighty. Now, Bula and Gus Gould. Connor Tracey re-signs. The creamy. Jacreem, my pants Bula. First of all, I want to go to you first, mate. Have you ever heard a player be, I guess, spoken about in such loving terms?
Not with such interesting choice of words.
That's an athlete. Gee whiz, he's going to be a good player. He's just creamy, so fluid, beautiful, like an apple pie on Sunday.
Do you see a huge issue with him talking like that about a player though?
I think the train's left the station so long ago. Like I actually, it's funny. Like years ago, you can ask Matty. I was always like, as a game, it is insane that we have like managers of teams and shit, and like player managers, and like there is so much conflict of interest. But I just think the train left the station literally like two decades ago. How do you stop it? Like it's
it's bolted for sure. But I don't see how. I get it. He's a He's a polarizing figure and stuff, and he's obviously doing what he's doing at the Dogs. But I don't know if you're going to get someone across the line because you say they're a creamy fluid. You might be a better chance of getting a date with him, but I don't know about.
Maybe he should neg him. He should start negging him, going, he's crap. He could be way better over the doggies.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they'd be okay with those comments. As you said, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know why the Dogs keep getting linked to fullbacks when they've just re-signed Connor Tracey.
So that's an interesting one. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I believe the belief from the Bulldogs is Connor Tracey can play anywhere. We're happy if he's in our team. We can slot him in the centres. We can put him on the wing. We have Dream Bula, though. We get Dream and Connor. Connor's not on mega bucks, so it's not going to blow their cap out of the water having re-signing Connor Tracey there. But Dream Bula, if he's available, it would be stupid for the Bulldogs to not go after him.
But what about Drinky? Like surely Drinky's made that a bit interesting there.
Yeah, well, I think the Dogs for a long time, I've heard from people around the Bulldogs camp that they've wanted Dream. It was always. I know the Dragons have been linked to Dream Bula as well, but from my understanding, Dream was going to end up at either the Bulldogs or the Tigers. Over the past couple of months, if you asked me in December, I would have told you I think Dream Bula is going to the Bulldogs hands down. There's no getting around that. Now I think things are a bit different, but I don't think Connor Tracey signing completely puts a line through the Bulldogs signing or going after Dream. I think these comments as well, we saw last year Gus's comments on Lockie Galvin, obviously. I feel like he's just taken that and gone in the complete. He goes, well, they can't get me in trouble if I call someone sort of creamy. Well, it's kind of gross. All these things that he said, right? Because they can get kind of passed off as jokes or laughable almost. But while Dream Bula is on the open market, the Bulldogs are looking because just remember the Bulldogs weren't sold on Connor Tracey 6 games ago. Now all of a sudden they're sold on him to be their long-term fullback.
So your understanding from the Dogs is that they just like him as a player that can play anywhere.
He can fit anywhere in that team. In that back, he's literally Connor Tracey is one of the only people I think that's played in every single position in the back line.
And so the idea is they're not paying him so much, so they can still afford a top-tier fullback. Is that, I guess, the thought process?
I don't know if that's if they're going, we're going to pay Connor Tracey this just in case another fullback comes, but Connor Tracey's not on a lot of money.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, they've still got money to spend elsewhere.
Yeah, okay.
They've got their big signing in the forwards in Leo Thompson. They've got Kikau on the edge. They've got Jacob Preston. They don't need to put more money into their forward pack. I personally believe they're still one front row short of being a real dominant pack, but they can put more money into their back line now.
See, I reckon if they can get Harry Hayes on the field regularly, I reckon he can be that forward for them that...
You still don't reckon one more? Because they've got Harry Hayes. I know he's been injury disrupted and whatnot, but they have Harry Hayes.
They've got Satilli, Harry Hayes, Max King, Thompson, Hughes.
So Max King and Leo Thompson are your starting front rowers at the moment. You bring Harry Hayes off the bench.
Yep.
I don't know if Sam Hughes does it for him. He's in and out. I think Satilli's a second rower that's been playing in the middle. Yeah, one more big body forward.
See, I reckon... I love Connor Tracey. He is all effort, and he's saved 2 games for him essentially with some incredible try savers, or at least one of them for sure. I just think
they had halves last year. And they signed Lockie.
Can I say something crazy? I don't know if Jareem's totally different to Connor Tracey. I don't think Jareem's a real silky pass, try assist type fullback. I reckon he is a bit more in the Connor Tracey mold, but he's faster. And he's younger. I think the makeup of the Dog spine, they need a real scheming fullback.
That's why Drinkwater. That's why I'm not understanding why Drinkwater hasn't been. Is it because his defense isn't great? Is that potentially why they haven't been as?
But the Dogs shouldn't be worrying about a defensive fullback because most teams don't get through their front line. That shouldn't be an issue. And the Dogs could be having a crack at Drinkwater that we just haven't gotten to yet. But
I'm kind of a little bit in you in regards to, does Bula have a lot of potential? Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%. I love watching him play.
Yeah. Is he a good fullback? Yes. Is he a top tier fullback? No. So
he's also really young. I think he's only 23.
But even when they come in young, you can get a pretty quick understanding of what type of fullback they are. He doesn't strike me as a kid that wears the 1 that you could go and put him in the 6. No. I think the fullbacks that they need at the Dogs, it'd be someone that you could say he could wear the 6 or the 1. And that's because of his passing game and the way he
which
takes.
is what they got in Connor Tracey now.
Drinky would be that as well, I would say. Based on his attacking play, he could play in the halves.
And like we're talking about getting a top tier full, like is Dream Buller a top 10 fullback right now? I wouldn't say.
Well, the other one, would you say Dream Bull is a lot like Will Kennedy? I would say
he's closer to Kennedy in style of play.
Yeah.
And I know he's younger. He's probably a bit more robust physically. I think he's a little bit more robust physically. And so like that's why I'm a little bit surprised that if Drinky comes on the market, like he is a top tier fullback. Like,
but they wouldn't be able to afford him, huh?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Not if we're talking 1.2.
But if Drinky, if Dream is getting offered $900K from the Tigers,
must be more at the Dogs, right?
Yeah, which is as if Drinkwater shouldn't take $1 million at the, or at least if I'm Drinkwater, I'd take $950 a year at the Dogs 3-year deal.
I think with Jareem and money, like I think money's nice for Jareem. I don't think it's the be all and end all for him. But from having conversations with him, for him it's about his performance and his development. So that'll be the really interesting thing, whether he chooses to re-sign with the Tigers or not. I think that's the only thing that was holding him back before.
Drinky, this will be the biggest deal of his career too, won't it? So
yeah.
I think he'll take his time with it.
But like you put Drinky into that side, and I do believe it's a premiership threat.
I don't think the Dogs could offer Drinky 1.1, 1.2.
But like it sounds like they're going to offer Jareem at least 900. You'd have to say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it's $200,000 difference.
But I personally think if I'm Drinky, I'm taking $200,000 difference to potentially win a comp.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And when you're earning that much money, like 900K is still so much money. But anyway,
I'm gonna take the money over the ring, man.
Would you? Would you take the 1.1 over 900?
I reckon I would, man. Yeah.
So
at the age that he's at.
If Panthers offered you 900 and the Dragons offered you 1.2, be aggressive with it. 1.1.
At Drinky's age, mate, I'm getting flogged every week at the Dragons, and I'm sailing off into the sunset. So
okay, fair enough.
Everyone had different motivators, I guess, but at that stage of his career, man, it'd be hard to knock back 1.2.
See, I'm more looking at it like, listen, if you can't make your finances work on 950K a year compared to 1.1,
that's fair. That's a fair thing to say.
Fucking hell, how much money do you need to be happy?
Whereas
a ring in 950 for the rest of your life, you look at that ring.
Yeah,
you can't buy that.
Point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a premiership ring or 900K.
Neither do I. I don't have either, mate. I don't have either, so I'm just talking out my ass. Mate, okay, we need to know what is doing at the Melbourne Storm. For the past 23 years, Bellyache set the gold standard, consistently lost 4 in a row, and you had a bit of an interesting take on this one, on the Melbourne Storm that I saw on, was it Chad Townsend's show?
Yeah, I think, look, I had some pushback to say that I shouldn't be offering Craig advice, and I think that's really fair.
Yep.
Like, I really do think that's fair, but I don't think you can coach this Melbourne team the way you've coached the last 10 years, the teams that Melbourne have had. You now, like, you have so many kids in that team that I reckon need a cuddle more so than a bollocking.
Like, for example, Chan on the weekend.
We don't even know what was fully said, but optically he stood over the young kid and had his finger out. Like, Chan wasn't great. I get that, but they now have more players in that huddle that probably deserve a spray than they've ever had. I reckon in the past, at halftime, there would only ever have been 1 or 2 players that need a spray. You could argue now they have 7 or 8. So I reckon that's why in those moments now you're going to have players feeling a little bit more hard done by than in the past.
I'm not sure about, whether he should or shouldn't spray in regards to just general coaching, but I actually tend to agree with you. I was quite surprised how aggressively Chan got hooked and sprayed after he's been one of their better players all year long.
You used to go to Melbourne, right? You used to know you get flogged when you get there because you got to go do that army camp. You know that Craig's going to bollock you at some point, but the trade-off was you got to play in a crash-hot footy team and you got to win every week. If they're not winning every week and you've got, so much inexperience in and around you, I just don't know if you can go as hard. Like, there's some of them kids that are trying to learn. I spoke about Cooper Clark and I love what he's doing. But, like, he's facing things that no other Melbourne kid has ever had to face. He's trying to learn to be an NRL player. He's trying to learn to be a Storm NRL player. He's trying to learn the front row position. Then he was back row the other week. They're getting beat. So I just think they're being faced with things that club has never had to face before. So I'm not writing him off, and I think Craig will be good enough to navigate them out of this little period. My suggestion was maybe he had to cuddle more than Bollock. And
maybe I watched the wrong clip. I thought you said you're enjoying the downfall.
Oh, yeah, Storm. I'm definitely enjoying it. No, I am. No, because, and I said it to Chad. I said, Chad, man, we used to get flogged by them, right? And the other week I went to Combank Stadium live and sat in the stands, and I'm watching Munster, Grant, Hughes, I'm watching them retreat behind the try line every 5 minutes. But in my head, I'm going, this is what my whole career was. Like, this is what footy is. These blokes have... I'm watching Munster on the weekend. He's getting hunted from the inside like you wouldn't believe. He was coming up with plays where it looked like he didn't know what to run. And I'm going, that's what I've always known footy to be. I was flat out trying to win an NRL game, let alone trying to win a premiership. So I am getting a little bit of enjoyment based on the fact they've been so good for so long.
That's so good. Yeah. I think if you had asked me straight after my NRL career, I'd be in the same boat. I'd be like, fuck yeah, a bit of taste. I've even seen some of their fans going like, is this what it's like to support a normal team? Yeah, this is what it's like, you motherfuckers.
This is what the NRL is,
This is what it's like. Sometimes you lose four on a trot. But now that I actually, have been doing content for so long, I've actually, you find you're much more even keel on how much you enjoy teams, but I love the fact. So you're hater.
There is a bit of enjoyment, and it's the hater in me. I reckon you've got to have a little bit of hater inside you to be decent at anything. And I mean it in the most respectful way.
That's good stuff.
They've been so good for so long, them players. Yep. But it's cool to see the Melbourne Storm face issues that we all had to face over our career.
Well, it's a compliment, really.
It is a compliment.
They're so good. What do you reckon's going on at the Storm, bro?
Yeah, look, I can't have the same happiness that you got. Actually, I really enjoy watching the Storm. Like, well, I did when they were dominant. I love just quality football, and like we were actually sitting 2 bays across from each other at that game, right? And it was behind them, and you could see the movements are clear in that, and that's what I used to love watching about the Storm. As someone who's watched the Storm so much, trying to be a first grader and trying to get into the system, the one thing that I've noticed from them this year that they're lacking, and it's crazy, it's Elise Katoa. I know it's just one player, but last year or the last couple of years, he was responsible for so much of their flair, their points, line running, kick options. And we also got to remember Xavier Coates is out. When you don't have that attacking prowess that the Storm are used to, and I know a lot of people don't think of attack with the Storm because of what they did with the wrestle and things like that, but they're such a great attacking, or they have been such a great attacking side. I think the loss of him has really hurt him, and they can't play the same. They can't play the same style of footy. They're trying to play the same style of footy without the talent there that they had. And these kids are talented, but there's a very big difference between being talented when you make your NRL debut and where Katoa was.
I feel like we're still trying to say that they've got a really strong roster. Like, the facts are right now they don't. They've got a lot of young kids that are having
injuries too.
They're having to learn on the run.
They've got heaps of upside now, I think, but not. Where they sit in their careers, they're not that dominant team that they used to be.
I know what you're saying, because like when you go and look at the roster, the forward pack.
So who are their Melbourne DNA players they've currently got? I reckon it's only Hughes, Munster.
Let's read out what they ran out with on the weekend. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Warriors' victory. I still think it was, the reason why the Storm are the Storm is because they used to have this next man up mentality.
But they only ever needed to get 2 or 3 players in their roster on the field up to everyone else's standard. Yeah. Now I reckon they've only got 3 or 4 rostered on Melbourne DNA type players.
So this is their forward pack. On the weekend. Stefano, Josh King, Joe Chan, Cooper Clark, Trent Leoro.
So I reckon Josh King's the only one in there that has rostered on Melbourne DNA. I reckon Utu Kamano's very experienced now, but you could still argue he's still learning what it means to be a Melbourne Storm player. Liero's a bit. He's still learning.
Yeah. Well, he should be. He's an Origin player now. He should be a leader. He's 25 years old. I just think he had a bit of a Barry Crocker on the weekend.
He's a bit of a hothead, Trent? Like he loves the kind of get in your face.
He's the sum of all the parts type player. I think that's what this has proven. Is they've had some players that their system has always raised, and that they don't have the same level of player within their squad at the minute. I just think we have to be really honest about that.
Yeah, and they are missing like a few injuries as well. Even Jack Hetherington and Moali, they are essentially two players that other clubs were willing to let go. So on their bench. Hetherington didn't get any minutes. Manaya Wharawira, I think he is a rookie that came on the wing, didn't he?
I think he's starting this weekend.
Yeah, so he's a rookie. Although it's still a relatively decent side, they're probably just not as consistent as those sides back in the day. I do also think that they have struggled a little bit with the new, because the refs have been so willing to penalise in that, the wrestle is less effective in defence. And I think the Melbourne Storm are struggling to kind of deal with the fact that usually they're so good at slowing to play the ball down, but the refs are being so aggressive with the 6 agains. I think they had like 7 penalties or some shit, 14 penalties all up if you include everything on the weekend. And I think that that used to be their bread and butter, is like they would always win the ruck speed, but on the weekend they really struggled. So yeah, they had 7 penalties conceded and 7 ruck infringements, so 7 6 against.
Aren't they completing it over 90%?
Yeah, they're completing pretty well. But yeah, this is one area where they're essentially, usually they're always winning the average play the ball speed, or at least it seems like it. On the weekend, I think they're struggling a little bit with that.
Do you not think they, though, like, you know how you said they're struggling with that kind of side of the ball, the defensive side? Do you not think they've got the players and that spark that when it's happening the other way and they're getting the 6 again calls on attack, they should be smoking?
But it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Like, it's if they're on the back foot constantly, then they're fatigued.
And there's no momentum and whatnot. But like,
I also do think that, like, if they aren't winning the ruck, that spine isn't like the old spine that was smart enough to be able to structure their way out of momentum. Whereas like this team has been so designed for winning the ruck in fast footy that I feel like when they don't win the ruck, they really go like what do we do? What do we have to do to change this around? Whereas back in the day, if they're not winning the ruck, Cam Smith would just do something hectic to completely change the momentum of the game, or Cooper Cronk, or Billy Slater. I'm just not sure whether like Hughes is the modern 7, which is like balls to the wall, fast footy, front foot. Harry Grant, similar situation. I reckon he's the best running 9 we've ever seen. Munster, he's the same. And I just wonder whether, do they have that Cooper Cronk style player that can go, even if I'm on the back foot, I'm going to be so strategic with what I do, I wrangle my momentum back into my... I'm not sure whether...
Do you reckon it's also... Like, I love how you mentioned Cronk and Smith there. And Blake, you're probably the best to talk on this. Their kicking game, like their Cronk and Smith especially, I remember second or third tackle, if they weren't getting a roll on, they just pin it down into a corner, like, and you defend your way back into
Panthers,
momentum.
they do it all the time.
Yeah, like, and that's what the Storm used to do all the time. Like, as a half, Blake, like, is that something that you think they might be struggling with now, that opposed to what they have in the past?
It's hard to really pinpoint. I reckon we're still kind of holding a lot of teams to the standards of a former game. Like, I reckon the game is so different.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about a general, but then I'm sort of moving towards the idea that maybe you don't end up needing the general based on how quick the game is. I don't know. I put it down to the inexperience. I can't see it being any other reason for that. I mean, they've still got great players in amongst there, but clearly, like, they're completing so high, which tells me, like, I mean, we're into some halves about not coming up with points, but then again, they're leaking a lot of points. So
yeah,
it's hard to pinpoint. But I reckon we haven't fully figured out the new version of our game.
Well, I mean,
yet.
we saw Penrith last year as well struggle for the first 12 rounds and then just turn it all around like that. The Storm could do something very similar.
Are we being a little bit unfair on the Storm in the sense that we constantly compare them to the great era?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so, because like they had 50 points put on them a couple of weeks ago. Like that's
still normal for most normal clubs.
Yeah, but they still have that Melbourne DNA. Like,
but that's what I'm like. We're saying you need to be as good as essentially like Cam Smith, the greatest ever 9. You know, you could argue statistically Cooper Cronk's the greatest ever 7, Billy Slater the greatest fullback. Like, they're always getting compared to that era, and maybe this era just isn't as good.
Do you reckon? Like, we haven't been that hard on them either, though. Like, if they're not traveling much better than the Dragons, if truth be told.
Yeah.
But I don't think no one's...
I don't think so. No, they've earned the right not to, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, they've earned the right to... Like,
they've got plenty of credit.
Yeah, they were in a grand final.
2 grand finals in a row.
Yeah, 6 games ago. Like,
but I do think sometimes... Well, I'll just say for myself personally, I judge them harsher than other teams because of their history. And in reality, this team that I'm talking about now, they weren't around when that team was who it was back then. And like, to expect Jerome Hughes to be Cooper Cronk right now might be a little bit unfair, you know?
They had a monopoly on the old style of footy too, but if you like, since the 2010s, they changed the game with the wrestle and slow the ruck, and so yeah, maybe they just haven't adapted to.
Well, I think as well, like, do you think this Storm, is ruthless? A ruthless team?
No, I think they're too young and inexperienced. Like, I think they're still trying to get Melbourne DNA into a lot of kids in that roster.
And how do you become ruthless? Like, it comes from experience.
Well,
right?
I look at it. I consider a team ruthless that plays for 80 minutes. Whether they're up by 30, down by 30, they play exactly the same. That used to be the Melbourne Storm back in the day. Like there's the famous story of they beat the Titans by like 40 points or something, but the Titans scored 3 late tries and Bellyache went off his absolute head of the boys. And like I look at Penrith and I go, that's a ruthless footy team. Like obviously I know they lost on the weekend, but I just said like they are going to drive you into the ground for 80 minutes no matter what the circumstances are. And I just wonder with the Melbourne Storm, I think that their Achilles heel has been like when they're on, they're the best team in the comp. Like they can just blow teams off the park. Look at the grand final. Come out, they're leading by 10 points. All year long, they had that same problem where they would come out, they'd blow teams off the park, and then they just take the foot off the pedal for 20 to 30 minutes. They'd let the other team back into the game, and then they'd finish the game strong. And it came back to bite them in the finals. Then they get to Broncos again this year. They're up 14-0. They get beaten. And now all of a sudden, like they don't have the form to get that 20-point start. They don't know what it's like to kind of grind it out to a degree.
Yeah. The games are proving that. So if that's your judging of ruthless, then no, then they're not that team.
And another reality, I guess, Munster is older. Hughes is a little bit older as well. Like,
Do you know if they're in the mid-season market for anyone, or are they pretty?
They want an outside back. Like they were desperate for it before the season even started.
they've lost Nelson. They've lost Katoa, Kamakamitha at the moment.
Heaps, yeah, like that.
Heaps. Pappy, Coates.
But that's why I think we just need to be more honest about where they're at. Like we keep trying to point like they're just inexperienced, and they're having to deal with what a lot of clubs have had to deal with for a long time.
Whereas usually, like back in the day, they had that core that lasted 15 years.
They'd have a core of 10 or 11 players that were
players.
rostered on. You knew what they were going to get, and you
That's
only
fair.
had to scatter 3 or 4 around them because they've always unearthed people.
Yeah.
They just never had to have unearthed 10 people in the same footy team.
Yeah, because like even Josh King's only been at that club for 3 years.
Well, Meany would be your next one. But even like he's not going to make anyone really pay, is he? Like Meany would be your next most sort of Melbourne DNA type
they're
of guy.
allowing him to leave, like to go to Perth.
Well, yeah, him and
So, like you're right now. It's a good point you make. So Stefano arrived yet last year. Josh King 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure. Joe Chan last year. Cooper Clark rookie. Trent Leoro probably four years ago or so. So it's a good point. Like when you actually do look at this roster, really there's only about 4 or 5 guys that have like been there day dot for the last 6-7 years. A lot of these guys have only been here for a few years. So yeah, it's a decent point. Pezet versus Duffy. The chat has started. So Duffy has been asked. He obviously went really well in his club debut, and he's been asked basically. Thoughts on Pezet coming to the club, and Duffy has said the more the merrier, I reckon. Madge preaches that at training. Competition drives everyone to get better. We've got numerous players here who can play in the halves. The more people you have in positions that are pushing each other at training, that's what you want. With Pezet's indifferent start to the year, and the fact that he isn't really an established, locked-in first grader yet. Like it's a bit of a weird start for him, and it's not really through his fault. He's been really patient at the Melbourne Storm. Does he have anything to worry about arriving at the Broncos if let's say he's in and out of first grade or he has some injuries at the Eels?
No, I wouldn't imagine so. I think he's going there as a premier half.
Yep.
Has he proven it yet? Probably not. But I think he's definitely been purchased as someone they can see getting to those levels. I'd just like to remind Duffy that what we're seeing in our game, like there's still so much time left for him. He had a staggered start at the Cows. He's come to the Bronx, and what we got to see last week was so many great signs that he could be a really, really good number 7.
I still can't believe the Cowboys let him go, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Halves are so hard to find, and you let go a 22-year-old that's won Q Cup Player of the Year as a half?
Yeah. I agree with that. He looked calm, like he's a lot of good signs. But I reckon there is definitely a world where 3 of them can coexist in Mam, Duffy, and Pezet. We've seen how regularly teams are having to change their spine. So all he has to do is just keep taking the opportunities when he gets them, and whether his future's at Brisbane or not, something over the next few years is going to open up for him. So,
well, I mean, we've seen at the moment like blokes that are coming in 25, 26 and really building a career. You look at Fogarty, you look at Cody Walker. What do you reckon, mate? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Like if Duffy keeps going the way he's going, and let's say he gets more minutes with Renault's injuries that he seems to pick up. Like if he's playing good footy, it'll be very hard to accept that Pezet walks in. Like I mean, I don't think any of us see the Eels turning this around anytime soon. What kind of situation they're in? Look, I tend to agree. Like the more the merrier when it comes like you can't have too many players. It's also going to depend on what Ben Hunt chooses to do next year. What there's not a line through Ben. He might still be there next year. What Billy Walters is doing, all things like that. And I know there are guys that swap between 9 and the halves, but they're gonna have a very strong kind of stable of players there. But if you're Michael Maguire, if Jonah Pezet doesn't improve this year, you probably need to give it to your better player next year, whether that's Duffy or Pezet.
Well, we know he make a ruthless call. We know that. Michael Maguire, Shibasaki obviously coming to the side last year. Shijeski as well on the edge there. Now, boys, Tamale dropped himself. What happened here, mate? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because you don't really see things like this, and a bit was taken out of context. Ricky was seen on the weekend kind of blowing up, or it looked as though he was blowing up, but that's not the case. So Tamale's kind of showboated and whatnot in this point, and then the camera's gone to Ricky and caught Ricky kind of looking like he's losing it, but he was actually giving Tamale a bit of a rev up. Tamale's gone and seen Ricky and said, mate, I want to go and play Reggie's this week. And Ricky was super hesitant at the start. He said, mate, just give it a couple of days and then let's re-talk about this. And then Tamale's come back and said, nah, mate, like I'd like to go and just get my confidence back up, put me down there for a week. I'll go get 300 run meters. I'll come back and be better than ever. Like, you were talking about Loko before and a young player kind of taking that stance to say, I'm better than where I'm sitting. For Tamale to come out and say, hey, I need a week down to get my head right and get my confidence back, like, mate, good on him. Like, to be honest with you.
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, because what are the Raiders supposed to do now? Sebastian Chris goes out there and has Matt Timoko, because Sebastian's shifted out to the wing. Matt Timoko goes out and has the greatest game of his life, and they pump Melbourne this week.
Well, I guess that's the risk that Tamale is faced with, is like, and for two things, it's just really brave from Tamale to talk about his emotions like that and be vulnerable in front of Ricky Stewart to say, like, I'm struggling at the moment. But also the second one is like, a week's a long time in league. Like, you can lose your spot in a week. I will say I'm surprised that, like, and like, I don't know. I don't know the inner workings. I don't know what's going on. But like, I would have thought that the environment around Tamale would fill him with confidence, like, and I know everyone's different. I know every situation's different. But I'm a little bit surprised that how can this young kid not have enough? Yeah, like, it's just surprising because I guess I just see him as such a talented star.
I reckon it kind of, and this will be a little bit of a rap for Ricky, but I think it kind of speaks to their relationship when a young kid can come to a coach and say, I think I need a bit of time out of the top grade. To me, I don't think he's in bad form. And the other thing about that moment, I wouldn't even say it was show. I don't even know what that moment was.
I think it's just a brain explosion.
I think it was the biggest form of a brain fart we've ever seen. I don't even know what he was trying. He didn't even try and beat him. He just sort of stopped and let him sort of make contact.
I thought he'd use hammy.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I think he was thinking initially, I'll step him and I'll go under the post.
But then he forgot to step.
But then he pulled out of it. And then,
He's definitely had the high ball jitters, but over the first 6 weeks.
Made a few errors.
Because since he came to Canberra, he's been in the top grade every week. You know, he's done a job. I thought he was so good last year. Like the meters that he got. He's had to move to Canberra by himself and start his life down there as an adult. Like, he's young. He's a young man. And we don't know all the inner work. Like, we don't know what he's going through outside of footy and whatnot. Like maybe it's a common. We see a lot of people go to Canberra and not cope as well. Like, but I just think the realization for him to be like, hey, this is where I'm at. I didn't think he played that bad on the weekend either.
Made a few errors.
I mean, if I was him, I would never say drop me out of first grade because I'd be scared that I'd never get my spot back. But I really commend him, and I think it also shows where Ricky's at. Ricky didn't agree with him straight away. But for Ricky to put his emotions to the side to say, you best, so you go do what you need to do. I think it says a lot about Ricky and his relationships, and also probably where Canberra's at as a team. I'm sure all those boys will get around him, and they've got quite a young team this year as well.
Is there any worry though that like he feels that way about himself? Is like why isn't the environment making him feel, and maybe it's purely an internal thing, like no matter what the Raiders do, he was just going to feel like that because that's how his brain works. Everyone's different, and we don't know. But is there any worry that the environment isn't conducive to making him feel confident about himself?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the environment though. I just think this will sound funny because you were a winger, but I played on the wing twice for Great Britain, right?
Yeah.
Sean Johnson puts a pop gun end over and I'm going, happy days, Hagwoods. His first kick of the game to my wing. So I'm going, he hasn't even tested me. Put me hands out, it goes straight through my arms. Now, I kid you not, Sean Johnson could have kicked the next 7 kicks to me. I would have dropped every one of them.
Yeah.
I was that type of player. I reckon I reckon what he's gone is, no matter what, if I go back out on this NRL field, I'm going to be faced with another 10 bombs this week.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to drop 1 or 2 of them. So I just need to clear my, I reckon it's just the jitters, a little bit like your cricketers when they just lose their eye a little bit and they can't get out of their own head.
I'm probably speaking of it from my own experience because I remember I went to a coach once and I said, I don't want to kick any, like goal kick anymore. And it's a long story, but long story short, like I was getting advice from all these different people about goal kicking, like do it this way, do it that way. And I'm just and it was like affecting my confidence as a player. And like, I look back now and really what I was saying is like, I need an arm around me here. Like I need you to make me feel like I'm wanted, that you won't even want me in this side. And like, that wasn't the response I got. It was like, no, you're kicking. And that was it. It was like, as if I wasn't like, how dare I even say that I'm don't want to kick anymore.
Well, you hope that he's not just trying to get on the front because it maybe another week or 2 of a couple more errors. Maybe he thinks he's going to get dropped anyway.
Potentially.
So you hope it's not that. But as I said, I think it's a good thing when a kid can go. Like how old is he?
He's younger
21.
than me.
So
yeah.
I'm just saying how I would feel if I'm just putting myself in his shoes. And if I went to the coach and said I'm struggling for confidence, I'm probably really asking him to put an arm around me.
Oh,
So, mate,
yeah. You want him to say, "Nah, stay in there. You're fine,
mate. We got you. You're a gun."
But no, Ricky did say that.
Yeah.
Like so, and I think like I've spoken to Sav a couple of times, and like I mean, you're not going to get a better kid than Sevilla Tamale.
I tell you what, he's a super brave kid. I really like that next generation has the confidence to speak about their emotions like that.
Yeah, well, like,
he's still doing all the things that we know him to do. Like his backfield carries are still brilliant.
Hectic,
he's still a handful every time he runs the ball.
Yeah,
I think he's just got the jitters, and this is what he thinks is the best way to.
You kind of mentioned it yourself, like Blake, that like when you get those moments, it's so hard to come back from. Like I even know when I was playing, like obviously a lot lower level, but like when I was playing SG ball for the Dragons, we went up against Penrith. I got on the field and I dropped 2 balls straight away. Oh, I was like, I could no matter what pass I got next, it was going to be the same thing. They hooked me after 15 minutes, and my confidence was shot. And that's at that level. So imagine what it's like
I had a similar thing with field goals. Now, I had 1 NRL field goal in my career. I go to the Super League, I think I kicked 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But I used to joke that I used to get all my field goals at training until Ricky had come over and watch, and then I'd spray everyone. But what I learned with my practice was I was better off practicing from 10 out in front of the post, because what I was doing then is I was stamping an image on my head that I'm watching these balls go through the post.
Yep.
Everyone likes to go at that 30, 40 metre range, and you end up hitting 3 from 10 or 4 from 10.
And a straight kick's a straight kick, whether it's from 10 or from 30.
Yeah. So, but from further out, you walk off the field stamping images in your head that you've missed 6 and you've got 4. Whereas I realised that just putting 10 over from 10 in front was actually better for my confidence going into a game. So I reckon it's a little bit similar for Tamale. He just wants to go away and just remind himself that he can catch again.
Yeah, that's fair. Because it's funny you say that, because I was watching a clip came, Johnny Wilkinson, the Union player.
Yep.
And in the clip, he was talking about a lot of players, they go and immediately start trying to kick from the sideline and 10 from the sideline or whatever. And he said a lot of drills he used to do was start kicking from 10 in front, but then he would keep taking the ball back. But what he would do in his head would keep that relaxed attitude of like, oh, it's right in front. I'm going to kick this easy. Because when you're in front, that's what you're thinking. Like, this is easy. And so what he would do is try to keep that mind frame of always knowing that the ball's going to go through the post.
Yep.
So how do I keep the same mindset that I have when I'm 10 in front, keep that for when I'm on the sideline? It's definitely going over no matter what. So that's really interesting that you say that in regards to the drop goals. But yeah, as I said, I just want to give Tamale a massive commend Tamale for having that just being gutsiness to be open and honest about his feelings. Because there's a lot of young kids that would be too afraid to say that. They wouldn't have the courage to kind of go and say that to a
You don't
coach.
want it to get worse either, right? But you'd hate to be the New South Wales Cup winger that's got a mark
Oh my
in
God,
this
he's
week.
about to absolutely rip him. He's about to rip that guy. Yeah, wow. Wow. Alrighty, that is us. Oh, no, so Jamie Humphreys. There's basically reports that he may be squeezed out. He's not contracted for next year. I'm surprised at this one because I like Jamie Humphreys. First of all, I think that given time and an opportunity, he could be a good fit for Cody Walker. But even like as a utility, a 9, a 14, I mean, if I'm a club, I'd be more than happy to pick up a player like Humphreys. Thoughts?
Yeah, I love the way he's sort of playing his footy. I love Ashton Ward too.
Yep.
Small in stature, but I think he's a brave little bugger, and I love the way he plays his footy. I said at the start of the year, I think he's the best option to put next to Cody. They've got some decent halves coming through. They've got Taj Alvarez in the SG ball competition, Central Coast boy who's of high quality. Isaac Fotumawala's another one there he can light up a rugby league match. So, look, it's a salary cap sport, ain't it? And there's obviously a squeeze there at the Bunnies. But I'm with you. I don't like the idea that he's getting squeezed out. The other thing is if he's not your 7, he's your 14 that can come on and cover a lot of different aspects of the game. He's built like a brick shithouse, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's beautiful to look at, man. And it's a shame that he'll have to go somewhere else, because I also don't want him going somewhere where he has to be the sole steerer of a footy team.
Oh, yeah. I think he needs a...
I don't think he's at that level yet. I want him in a team and a system that allows him to grow in himself and in his style of play. So hate that he's getting squeezed out, but he'll find a suitor very easily. I just want him to pick the right one.
You heard anything about this at all?
Yeah. It's been going around for a while, the Jamie Humphreys situation. It's been brought to light a bit more this week because he actually spoke. The Rabbitohs, look, in a perfect world, they'd love to keep him, obviously. But yeah, like this salary cap squeeze there, they got Payne coming and whatnot.
I forgot they had Payne coming.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
It's crazy. So crazy.
They've got $1 million tied up just in their centres between Jack White and Latrell. $2 million.
So are they going down the Ward? Is that basically them saying we're going to go with Ward instead of Humphreys? Like they've got to pick one.
They got Sullivan. So
they've gone with Sullivan.
Well,
Sullivan's
like,
not an option though, is he? Really?
Surely.
They didn't go in round 1.
Yeah,
they do like Sullivan.
but he was
they
given a
overlooked him
chance.
round 1.
He's been dropped.
I'm just telling you what. I'm not making the
calling you a
decision,
liar.
boys.
I'm
I'm not
saying.
making the decision, boys. Look, like they've got options there, right? Like, I mean, I personally think Jamie Humphreys is your best option. I'll be doing everything I can to keep him, but like, because of how good he's been, he's obviously
More than Sullivan.
He's getting asked for more money. Whether they go down Ward or they go down Sullivan as well, which probably give you a bit of context why he didn't get picked to start round 1. He missed majority of the preseason with a really bad back injury. Like he barely trained.
But he came in and got hooked midway through a game.
Yeah, well, it's
Been
just
dropped since.
it's just one of those. It's just one of those things, right? Where like they're gonna like you're gonna have players that go in and out of teams and whatnot. Like I'm not saying he's perfect or something. I'm just saying that's what they're kind of their view is. They've got options. They're also not paying for a lot of Sullivan's contract at the moment.
Matty,
so.
I know you don't have a mic, but
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
What's your thoughts?
I was just about to chime in. They're big on Jonah Glover as well, and I think he was actually leading the race in the preseason before he broke his jaw in the Charity Shield. He's the guy that they took from the Dragons last year, who kind of steered them to minor premiership, a grand final along with Lockie Ilias. So they do have options there, and I think Jamie Humphreys is just going to be an unfortunate casualty. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do with Glover when he comes back, because it seems like he absolutely ripped in the preseason.
Glover's really good. Glover's at the Bulldogs with me.
Yep.
And I couldn't speak higher enough for him. He was playing like more utility role there. Probably wasn't their first choice halves, and that's why he ended up leaving to go to the Dragons. And man, I'm like just toughness from a half as well. Like guy's half my size, and I used to dread wrestling with him in the wrestle room. Yeah. Okay. One time, like he got my back, and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble here. Like but he's he is really good, and like I said, it's not a bad option to have, because whether you go Glover in the halves and then you go Sullivan on the bench, or you go Ashton Ward. I just think Ashton Ward for me is a little bit small. But I mean, you guys would be better to talk about that. But like they've got options. I don't know if any of those options though are as good as what Jamie Humphreys is right now.
Yeah, interesting.
Do they re-sign Cody Walker?
As in, should they?
I think they should. Do you think they will? They will. I think
have to.
Yeah, I think he as long as he wants to play, that's where he'll play.
I love the way he's playing. He's slowing down the legs, but still so quick.
But could you get Cody Walker to move into the role that Benji Marshall played there in his last year as a 14, come off the bench and
that team without Cody Walker is he needs to be on the park. If they lose, they need to have a.
I'm saying more towards it, like not right now, but if towards the back end he starts going, I don't have 80 in me.
Yeah.
Could you play Cody Walker in that role? Because Marshall, a lot of the time in that stint in 2021, he opened the game up for him a lot. It's like.
Well, even last year when Cody Walker was playing 20 minutes, he's going well.
Like, so could you start the year maybe with Cody Walker next year and then eventually fade into a part where you get a new 6 and you get Glover or someone in the 7 and then you start edging them that way. That way they can actually grow as a halves pairing with Cody Walker still in the team. And if things are getting bad, you can put Cody Walker on the field as a ball playing lock or as...
Ooh, interesting. Alrighty, that's us done and dusted. Make sure to give Tyson the Terminator 69 a follow on Instagram. Blake Austin, thanks for coming, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
yeah, as always, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.